Joining us this morning is author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. Nice to see you, Dinesh. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
All right, this is a very timely subject matter that we're talking about because of what happened in Charlottesville. These American Nazis and this party decided that they were going to demonstrate. Counter-demonstrators joined in the fray, and what ended up was, of course, the death of this unfortunate death of this woman, the death of 2 police officers in a helicopter. All of this is just part of what we call American history. This is just because people have the right to demonstrate, and even the mayor of Charlottesville said this could have been a very peaceful demonstration were it not for some of the conflict. So let's get into your book, The Big Lie. What's really the origin of all of this?
Well, ultimately, what these skirmishes are about is a narrative of American history. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Mm-hmm. And part of why the media is running with this whole Charlottesville narrative is it seems on the surface to support the idea that the bad guys are the right-wingers. Here you've got these neo-Nazis, these KKK guys, they seem to be for Trump. The good guys are fighting against them. But the whole thing is a kind of scam. And by that I mean, number one, the guy who organized this hate rally turns out to be a former Obama guy and an Occupy Wall Street guy. So right away, it's a little suspect. Number two, supposedly the demonstration was because they want to pull down this monument of Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee. Now, Robert E. Lee was...
He was a Confederate president.
He was the leader, yes. the general.
The general of the Confederacy.
But he was a military guy. Right. And in fact, he was such a good guy that Lincoln offered him the supreme command of the Union forces. Lee was a Virginian, so he refused to go to war with Virginia. Mm-hmm. But he was against slavery, and he opposed secession. He didn't want the South to secede. So if you're looking for a symbol of slavery and secession, don't start with Robert E. Lee. There are lots of bad guys. Robert Byrd. We were mentioning a moment ago.
Senator Byrd from West Virginia.
Senator Byrd was a high-up guy in the West Virginia Ku Klux Klan. And yet here's a guy who was called the conscience of the Senate, lionized by Hillary, Obama, Bill Clinton was at his funeral. Half of West Virginia is named after this guy. You drive up West Virginia, Robert Byrd School, Robert Byrd Highway, Robert Byrd this.
He was a grand wizard with the KKK.
And no one's pulling his statues down. So part of what I'm getting at is this. The left has sort of constructed this lie that the Klan was on the right. The Klan was actually the domestic terrorist arm of the Democratic Party. That the Nazis were on the right. Wait a minute. Hitler was a National Socialist. That was the name of his party. Mm-hmm. Mussolini was a Marxist. So the real fascists were on the left. And in fact, they were in bed with the American left.
So how did this get twisted?
After World War II, when the images of the concentration camps came out, these emaciated people, fascism became totally discredited. Mm-hmm. And the progressives who were coming to power in America, in the academy, in the media, they knew the record. And they were like, we better cover this up. We don't want young people to link us with all this horrible stuff. So we're going to try to move fascism from the left-wing column, where it's always belonged, into the right-wing column, so we can smear our opponents from now on with the fascist label.
It appears that they have been successful, though.
They've been very successful, and this book is a sort of detoxifier. It's an antidote to these big lies. And by blowing up these big lies, we take away these false narratives. Because people talk about fake news. I'm into fake scholarship and fake history. And that's a big problem in this country, too.
But how do you denounce hate? I mean, the thing about this is that the label is hate. Okay, we are against hate. We do not want to promote hate. Yet the First Amendment provides a forum for hate, or for anything that's different than what you believe. Anyone can say whatever they want, be it hate speech or not hate speech. How do you see that?
Well, the way I see it is that you cross the line from speech into violence when you start beating people up and killing them, right?
Sure,
so
yeah.
The guy who plowed
that's
into
just criminal.
That's criminal behavior.
Yeah.
Now, there were 200 people arrested for rioting, felony rioting, that's the charge, at the Trump inauguration. Now, normally these leftists are like, listen, we're noble rioters, put us in jail overnight, we'll be martyrs in the morning. Mm-hmm. But felony rioting is a crime with 5 to 10 years in prison. So if you want to lock up the white supremacists, and you should, who killed that woman, let's make sure we prosecute these dudes too, and let's see some prison sentences. Once we hold people accountable to the law, some of this will subside.
So when I read this book, The Big Lie, what surprise am I going to read in this book? That JFK liked Hitler?
That's a big surprise. The FDR was a fan of Mussolini, but I'll give you a bigger surprise. The Nazis, Hitler, developed some of their most genocidal schemes by taking ideas straight from the Democratic Party. I'm not saying that they were similar. I'm saying the Nazis got it.
That seems outrageous to me.
Well, I'll give you an example. So the Nazis are sitting in 1935. They're drafting the Nuremberg laws against Jews. And they go, we are great. We're creating the world's first racial state. One of the Nazis stands up and he goes, I studied in America the Americans have beaten us to the punch. The Democrats in the South already have segregation. They already have state-sponsored discrimination. They already outlaw intermarriage. Everything we're trying to do to Jews, they do to blacks. Let's take their laws. We'll cross out the word black, we'll write in the word Jew, and we're home free. So the Nazis then pulled together all these American laws. We have the transcripts of these Nuremberg meetings. The book it's a window into history and a part of history that's not in our textbooks, but will be mind-blowing when people read it.
Why do they want to quash this?
They want to quash it because it spoils their meta story. Ultimately, the meta story is that the fascists are the Trumpsters, they're the right-wingers. The moment you see FDR, all the icons of progressivism in bed with Mussolini and early Hitler, it spoils their multicultural picnic.
Well, it's an eye-opening read, Dinesh. It really is. As I read some excerpts of the book, I found it to be quite eye-opening. Thanks so much. Appreciate you being here. The book is called The Big Lie. Dinesh D'Souza, available to you on Amazon, and of course, at all bookstores, exposing the Nazi roots of the American left.